Hi, I'm Hogan.
I'm Elliott.
And we're Tog Makers. You may have heard of us, probably haven't, but this video is about the Tog Maker home production kit that me and my good man Elliott here have put together. So I'm gonna get out the way and kind of let Elliott do what he does because he's like the Screenprint guru here at Tog Maker. So without further ado, I'm out of here. Oh, shit. Yes, sir.
We're gonna go over the home production DIY kit. So I'm gonna rip this open and we're gonna show you all the contents, what it does and how to use it. Let's get into the screen. So the first and most important part of the kit is the screen itself. We gave you a 20 by 24 industry standard size screen. That's something you're not gonna find in a lot of other places. A lot of other people are gonna give you different options that aren't exactly what's gonna be used inside a regular shop. So if you can see behind me, there's a press, and this is something that I would put on mine anyways. So along with the standard size screen, we did a gang print. A gang print is multiple prints or multiple designs bulked up onto one screen. Ours has 12. It's got some art from Rax and it's got some art from myself. There's also a bunch of other random designs that we thought were pretty sick. Next, I'm gonna go into inks, squeegees, and cleaning supplies. These are the next parts of the kit, and it's how you're going to be able to make your designs, your graphics, or whatever you want to print on your stuff. We give you a standard plastic squeegee. This is something you're going to find in every other kit on the internet. What I think is important to note is that we also give you industry standard squeegees. We give you a small 3-pack. Inside the 3-pack, there's going to be different kinds of durometers of squeegees. That means the hardness of the blade. So we give you an orange one, which is soft. We give you a yellow one, which is medium. We give you a green one, which is hard. These are good for printing different kinds of graphics, whether that be size or just the difficulty of the graphic, whether there's a halftone or it's just line work. Next, we give you a set of water-based inks. Inside this set, there's red, yellow, and blue. That should help you mix any other color within the spectrum that you need. There's also black for line work, detail, or just general high contrast images. We give you a container to mix the inks in, some sticks to mix it up with, a roll of tape. This is helpful to block off your images or to generally tape off or work on cleanup when you're printing. And then there's a bottle of spray. This is water-based cleaning spray. It's gonna help you clean out the screen, whether that be in between designs or whether you wanna store it for long-term use. So next, we're gonna go ahead and start printing the shirt with the screen, and I'm gonna show you how you tape off the screen and use the inks. So before you begin, I think it's helpful to kind of get your entire space ready. So what I like to do is I put a little piece of paper down so that my ink doesn't get all over the place. I get my squeegees ready and generally just in place so they're easy to grab. And then I have my cleaning supplies within reach. I also have a pair of scissors here with me. And then something that you're also gonna need to dry the inks. Go ahead and grab one of these, hair dryer. Everybody's got it in their mom's closet or whatever, so get one of those. So first things first is you wanna load up the shirt with a piece of cardboard. You can use the box that the shirt came in, any other thing that you have laying around the house that's cardboard. Generally, it just needs to be a single ply of cardboard and it needs to be wide enough and long enough to fit with inside of the shirt. So I'm gonna load this one up and then we're gonna lay it out on the table here. All right, basically I just loaded the cardboard into the shirt and then we're gonna lay that shirt flat here onto the surface of the table. It's important to note that you're gonna need to get all of the creases, folds, oogies, or anything else that's on top of the shirt off of it. So next what you're gonna do is you wanna isolate your design. Unless that is you wanna print all of them at once. But for our sake, we're gonna pick a design and we're gonna tape off all of the other artwork that's around it. That way we can print the design and we don't bleed any ink through the other extra designs. That's gonna A, make our print look really crispy and nice on the shirt, and B, it's gonna preserve all the other graphics so they don't get muddied up with dirty ink. Okay, so next, we're gonna take the tape that came in each kit, and we're gonna tape off all the designs around whatever one that we wanna print. And just for demonstration's sakes, I'm gonna go ahead and pick a couple right now and tape them off for later. So I like to dog ear it, which is you take the tape and you simply wrap it around it. It gives you a quick little pull tab to grab later, so that cleanup or switching designs is a little bit faster and easier.
What are you gonna print here, Elliot?
So I'm gonna print the car first. I think I'm gonna mix up some green though, because I don't like the colors that we got right out of the bat. So I'm gonna take the yellow water-based ink, and I'm gonna take our mixing container. I'm gonna add the yellow first. It's always important to note that when you're mixing colors, it's easier to put your lightest color in first and then your darker on top. So there's some yellow in there. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. Then I'm gonna mix this up. And now I'm ready to start printing. So what we're gonna do here first is I'm gonna find a squeegee that fits the width of my design. So if we were using this one, it would be close, but see how there's some spots where it's larger? That's gonna be problematic. So we wanna get something that's just slightly bigger. I'm gonna go ahead and use the orange one on this guy. Covers it all the way. Next, I'm gonna find out where I want on the shirt for this design to go. So I'm thinking, why don't we just put this dead center just for the sake of demonstration. So I'm gonna line this up here. Now it's easy to see through the screen onto the shirt from above where exactly your design's gonna be. Standard is usually about 3 fingers down from the neck, center. So I'm gonna do that right there. Next, I'm gonna take my ink. Well, first I'm gonna take a squeegee and I'm gonna prop it up here. Going to give me a little bit of distance in between the t-shirt and the frame so that I don't get ink all over the shirt when I'm flooding it. Flooding it is when you take the ink and you push it through the image before you print the image, and you're saturating the screen with ink. So I'm going to take my green. I'm gonna put a little bead of ink. You don't need much. I'm gonna put it up there at the top. Then I'm gonna take my squeegee and I'm gonna make sure that my design on the screen isn't touching the shirt, and I'm gonna flood it. So I'm gonna take some ink, get it on the squeegee, and I'm just gonna push it gently over the image. If you correctly flooded it, you should see all the ink saturated throughout the part of the image. Next, I'm gonna get rid of my little prop here, and then I'm gonna drop the screen down. If you'll notice, with my spare hand, I'm pushing the screen down onto the t-shirt and the surface below me. Since we're not using clamps and we don't have a press, you're gonna have to apply pressure any way you can to get your screen to stay stable when you're printing. Next, I'm gonna take the squeegee, I'm gonna put it on here, I'm gonna give it a light amount of pressure, and I'm gonna bring it back towards myself. And since it's white, i.e. a light colored garment, it's gonna be hard to get the ink through it, so we're gonna hit this a couple more times. 2, 3, maybe one more just for measure. I'm gonna get rid of all the ink here on my squeegee, just make sure there's no excess. And then I'm gonna slowly, gently lift up. And so there's your first graphic. There's the first print. As you can see, came out great. To set this, we're gonna take the hairdryer and I'm gonna use the heat setting on high, and I'm just going to go over it lightly until the ink is dry to the touch.
Oh, cool! Is that made from the TogMaker home production kit? Awesome! Look at the cool graphics and colors. Wow, you said it's available on the TogMaker website? It's pretty dry to me.
Boom.
That sucker's done.
Boom. So now that we've finished printing one of our designs, we're going to keep moving on. And in order to do that, we're going to need to clean out our screen. So I'm going to de-ink this screen, take all the green out, and then we're going to spray the spritzer that came in your kit. It's going to clean up the screen, we're going to dry it, and then we're going to move on to the next graphic. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first off, I'm taking all the ink out. You can reuse water-based as long as you store it properly with a lid and in a dark place. So this can be used for another day. You just got to be good about cleaning it up and putting it back. So right now I'm going to take all the ink off the screen. Boom, there's that. I'm going to clean the squeegee. It's really important that you keep these clean. And then with either paper towels, a rag, or something you have around at home, just give it a good wipe off. If there's any dried ink on it, just give it a quick spray. And it should take off any of the dried ink. So our squeegee is good. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the screen. I'm not soaking it. I just want everybody to see this. I'm just lightly misting it enough to get the design saturated so I can kind of get in here and clean it out. A little tip for everybody at home is if you use the buff motion, which is a circular motion when you're cleaning, it's just a lot easier to get any of the residue in the screen out. Make sure when you're cleaning that you get the backside. Since there's graphics all over the backside as well as the front side, and we only tape off the front side, I'm going to spray this time into my rag and not directly onto the screen so I don't spread the green ink onto the other designs on the backside. So if you ever have any issues when you are cleaning it out, just keep some water on hand, add it to the mix. It's going to make it that much easier. Remember, it's water-based ink, so it's always going to come out in sync. Next, since our design is clean, I'm going to go ahead and take off the tape. Since I want to go ahead and print the next design, though, I'm not going to take all the tape off. I'm just going to take the tape off of the next design, and then I'm going to cover up the car. So I think next I'm going to go ahead and print the pig. I like him. So we're going to print him next, and I'm going to tape off this. So I got a dry rag here, a dry paper towel. I'm just going to go over my art and make sure that my screen has no water in it. It's not saturated. That's going to help the tape stick over the top of it, and it's also just going to alleviate any issues I have with printing in the future. And I'm doing the front and the back just to make sure everything's dry. I don't want anything spreading onto my shirt. Okay, so now it's good. Let's go ahead and tape this off. So I printed this design, I've cleaned it, I've dried it, and now I've reapplied tape to it. It's ready to be printed again in the future on the same shirt or put away for storage. Next, I'm going to print the pig design. So I went ahead and taped off all the artwork around it, so we're not going to be spreading ink anywhere else. And I'm going to print this guy next. So I'm going to print with black next. I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to take a little bit of the ink from the kit and I'm going to apply a small bead right here above the design. Sometimes it's helpful to use a popsicle stick or the squeegee edge to kind of nudge the ink out. Take it, we're going to use our yellow medium one because it's the full width of the design. I'm going to flood it again. You can already see that the design is there. And I'm going to print. Okay, so every once in a while when you're printing, not everything comes out just how you want. If you can notice, on this design, when we did the first pig, there's a little dot here and a little dot here. That's because I didn't tape off the screen correctly. There's a little bit of the design above it showing and a little bit of the design to the right of it showing. So what I did to stop more ink coming through on future prints is I flipped the screen over and I taped the area of the design above and to the right of the pig off. So let me go ahead and show you guys what that looks like on screen. So I put a piece of tape here above and I put a piece of tape here to the side. That blocks out the hole that was here and the hole that was here. Later when we want, we can go ahead and clean those parts of that screen again and use them. But for now, we're just gonna tape them off so that we don't have any extra ink coming through. So now I'm gonna keep going and I'm just gonna print the rest of the pig design all over the front of the shirt the way that I want it to look. All right, cool. So after printing multiple different designs in different colors, this is where we're at. So we can keep going forever or we can stop, but I think this is a good point. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to go ahead and clean my screen and get all my inks and squeegees put away and ready for the next round of printing, whether that be today, tomorrow, or next week. So I'm gonna once again take all the ink out of this screen. I'm gonna de-ink it, put it back into the container it came from, use the spray and clean it out, and then at the end we're going to take all the tape off the screen except for the blue tape and put it away for archive. So I like to take an ink card. You can really use like any kind of piece of junk mail that's like cardstock or anything like that at home. Just usually some kind of like throwaway cardboard piece. It helps you kind of scrape up the ink and you don't really have to worry about like cleaning any extra tools. You can just throw it away. So once your screen's de-inked, it should look like this. It should be a little rubbed around. Take your spray, spritz it a little bit. We're gonna go back in with our wet rag and we're gonna just wipe it all out. And so now that the pig's pretty clean, I'm gonna go ahead and take the tape off the rest of the screen and clean any other subsequent areas that may have gotten dirty from printing. It's important that when you're cleaning at the end, and you're using water-based inks, that you get rid of any ink in the screen. It is water-based, which means it will dry in the air. And if that ink hardens in your screen, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult or almost next to impossible to get it out, unless you want to rewash your screen. So I've de-taped the screen, but as you can see, there's still some remnant ink in here from when I was printing the pig. It got over into our 8-ball design and even some of the little tag design. So I'm gonna keep cleaning. It's important to note that when you get here, a lot of people who just start will think this is okay. It is okay to a degree, but it isn't okay because we're not gonna be able to use the 8-ball in the future if this little piece of ink dries. So I'm gonna go the extra mile here and we're gonna really clean it out. So when you are printing with water base, it is important to note that sometimes when designs do dry like that in the ink, adding just a simple amount of water, blotting it to it, can help it resaturate and then get knocked through. And that's gonna clean it out. So as you're noticing right here, all those big solid globs of black are slowly, faintly pushing out of the screen. So I'm just adding more water. I'm just using that same buff motion. And you'll notice that I'm flipping the screen over between the front and the back because that's helping push the ink through each side of the screen and working its way out.
Get this beat untagged for free at freebeats.io.
Okay, so I checked it under the light and it's clear and it's good to store. Sometimes you're gonna notice that your emulsion is going to dye different colors when you print over it. That's the ink dyeing the emulsion. It's not dyeing the design. As long as the design is clear and you can see through it when you hold it up to the light, then you know that you're okay to store it and print again. Cool, and just for a final measure, you don't always need to do this, but I like to keep mine dry. So I'm just gonna give it one more wipe down here. And of course I spread some more. So yeah, now it's ready to be put away and we're ready to use it again at a future date.